I never should have moved to Stillwater. That's what I keep telling myself as I huddle in the darkness of my bathroom, phone clutched in trembling hands, trying to document what's happening before they find me. My breaths come in shallow gasps, fogging the cracked screen as I type. The battery indicator blinks red, 9% remaining. Outside the door, the floorboards creak methodically. They're taking their time because they know I have nowhere to go. And all the while, I can hear their smiles. Yes, you read that correctly. I can hear their smiles. It was exactly 5 weeks and 3 days ago when I first drove into town, my small Honda packed with the remnants of my former life. The position of head librarian in a quiet rural community seemed like salvation after my breakdown in the city. The panic attacks in crowded subway cars, the sleepless nights in my overpriced apartment where sirens wailed endlessly. My therapist had suggested a change of pace, somewhere with clean air and community. If only she knew what kind of community awaited me. Stillwater looked like a postcard as I drove down Main Street that first afternoon. Golden sunlight bathed the Victorian storefronts, American flags fluttered from wrought iron lampposts, and children's bicycles leaned casually against white picket fences. The scene was so perfect it almost seemed artificial, like a movie set constructed for a nostalgic television commercial. Mrs. Harmon, the real estate agent, met me at my new rental house, a modest blue cottage with a wraparound porch and climbing roses. I remember how she stood perfectly still on the top step, hands clasped before her floral dress. The smile she wore struck me immediately, wide and radiant, with precisely 16 visible teeth beneath coral lipstick. Her eyes crinkled at exactly the same angle at both corners. "Welcome to Stillwater," she said, her voice melodious, yet oddly flat. "You're going to be so happy here. Everyone is happy here." The first 3 days passed in a blur of unpacking and orientation at the library. Everyone I met wore the same expression, that same perfect, unwavering smile. The grocery clerk, the mailman, the barista at the Daily Grind coffee shop, even the solemn-faced minister outside the white Methodist church, all smiling identically, as if their faces had been molded from the same uncanny template. I rationalized it initially. Perhaps it was something in the water, ironically named town, I thought, or just an unusual regional quirk. Small towns often develop peculiar social customs, after all. Maybe excessive smiling was Stillwater's version of Southern hospitality. At night, though, I began having dreams of faces stretching like melting wax, mouths widening until they split at the seams. I'd wake gasping, sweating through my sheets despite the cool autumn air coming through my window. By the end of my second week, I started documenting the smiles in a journal, then with surreptitious photographs taken on my phone. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The smiles never faltered, not in the heat of arguments at town council meetings, not when old Mr. Peterson's dog was hit by a truck on Sycamore Street, not even when little Timmy Wagner fell from the jungle gym and fractured his arm during recess. Through tears and pain, that child maintained the identical smile as everyone else. One evening, I locked myself in my study and meticulously analyzed the photos I'd collected. The realization made me physically ill. The smiles weren't just similar, they were mathematically identical. The same exact configuration of facial muscles, the same precise number of millimeters from lip corner to cheekbone, the same 16 teeth visible, the same depth of dimples. Nature creates variation. These expressions were duplicated with inhuman precision. Perhaps most disturbing was what I noticed when comparing smiles across different ages. The elderly postmistress, Mrs. Grantham, who must have been approaching 90, had the exact same muscular tension and elasticity in her smile as 17-year-old Becky, who worked after school at the ice cream parlor. It defied biological possibility. The morning I first heard the sound changed everything. I was alone in the biography section of the library, reshelving returns, when the heavy silence was broken by a wet, visceral noise from the adjacent row. It was like wet leather being stretched and snapped, a glutinous, organic sound that raised every hair on my arms. Peering through the gaps in the shelving, I saw Mr. Peterson, the high school principal, standing motionless between the rows. His face was slack, emotionless, almost corpse-like, Then came that sound again, schlick-crack-pop, and before my horrified eyes, his features contorted, muscles and skin pulling unnaturally until they locked into that familiar smile. The book I was holding, a biography of Eleanor Roosevelt, slipped from my fingers and thudded against the hardwood floor. Mr. Peterson's head rotated toward me with mechanical precision, the smile never wavering. "Finding everything you need, Miss Reynolds?" he asked, his voice pleasant while his teeth remained perfectly clenched in that grin. I mumbled something incoherent, retrieved the book with trembling hands, and excused myself. In the bathroom, I vomited until only bile remained. After that incident, I couldn't stop hearing it, that sickening, organic sound of faces rearranging themselves when people thought they weren't being observed. In the frozen foods aisle at Stillwater Market, I caught a glimpse in the security mirror of the butcher standing motionless, face blank and doll-like, before that nauseating noise accompanied his features, snapping into the town's universal smile. At the gas station, I watched through my windshield as the attendant's expression collapsed when he thought he was alone, only to reconstruct itself with that wet, stretching sound when another car pulled in. I began sleeping poorly, then hardly at all. Dark circles formed under my eyes. My hand shook constantly. Neighbors commented on my appearance with concerned words, all while maintaining those fixed, identical smiles. "You don't look well," they'd say. "Perhaps you need to acclimate better to our community." The word acclimate was used often, always with a subtle emphasis that made it sound like a threat. 3 days ago, I finally broke. It was during Mayor Wilson's weekly chat with the citizens in the gazebo at Town Square. The entire community had gathered, all wearing their pristine smiles despite the dreary drizzle that dampened their clothes. The mayor was addressing concerns about the upcoming Halloween festival when something in me snapped. Why does everyone in this town smile exactly the same way? I demanded loudly, my voice cracking from weeks of suppressed terror. What's wrong with all of you? What are you hiding behind those things on your faces? The silence that fell was absolute. Every head turned toward me in perfect synchronization, every pair of eyes fixed on mine, every face wearing that same horrific smile. The rain pattered softly on leaves and umbrellas, the only sound in the crushing silence. Mayor Wilson's expression didn't change, how could it? But something behind his eyes shifted, like curtains drawing closed over windows. "I'm afraid I don't understand your question, Miss Reynolds," he said, his lips barely moving while maintaining the smile. "Everyone in Stillwater is simply happy to be here. Aren't you happy to be here too?" The last question hung in the air like a blade. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, a dissonant chorus of voices saying yes, so happy here, and Stillwater is perfect, and you should smile more. As they spoke, their jaws moved unnaturally beneath those fixed expressions. The smiles remained perfectly intact, while something else entirely seemed to be working their vocal cords from within. And then I noticed something that turned my blood to ice water in my veins. None of them were blinking. Not a single person in the crowd had blinked since turning to face me. Dozens of unblinking eyes, wide and glassy, all focused on me with predatory intensity. I ran through the rain-slick streets, past the quaint shops and perfect houses, all the way back to my cottage, where I locked every door and window, drew all the curtains, and collapsed on my bathroom floor, hyperventilating until black spots danced before my eyes. As darkness fell, they came. First, a gentle knocking at my front door, then the back door, then every window simultaneously, a perfectly synchronized rat-a-tat-tat that echoed through my home like some monstrous, chittering insect. Through the peephole, I saw Mrs. Gladwell from next door, still wearing that smile despite the darkness and pouring rain that plastered her gray hair to her skull. "We noticed you seemed distressed earlier," she said, her teeth unmoving despite her words. "The community would like to help you adjust better to our ways." Behind her stood at least 30 townspeople, arranged in a perfect semicircle around my porch, all wearing identical smiles, all standing completely motionless except for that occasional twitch of facial muscles, like machinery requiring maintenance. Water streamed down their faces, yet none blinked or wiped it away. Some still held their umbrellas, but they held them wrong, at uncomfortable angles that offered no protection, as if they'd forgotten the umbrella's purpose and were merely mimicking the behavior they'd seen in humans. In humans, the thought surfaced unbidden, and with it came a wave of nausea, so powerful I staggered back from the door. They didn't leave. All night they stood there, occasionally knocking in perfect unison. I huddled in my bedroom, watching through a crack in the curtains as lightning illuminated their still forms. They never shifted position, never sought shelter from a storm, just stood and smiled and waited. This morning, I heard glass breaking downstairs. They've entered my home. I've barricaded myself in the upstairs bathroom now. My phone battery dwindles with each word I type. I can hear them moving methodically through my house, opening closets, looking under furniture. They call my name in sing-song voices that don't match the cadence of normal speech. But worse than their voices is that sound, that wet, stretching noise multiplied by dozens of throats. It's as if they're loosening their faces, preparing them for something. The stairs are creaking now. Slow, deliberate footsteps coming closer. I can hear them breathing outside the bathroom door, a synchronized inhale and exhale, like a single organism with many parts. "Lillian," comes Mrs. Gladwell's voice, distorted somehow, as if speaking through something thick and viscous. "We only want to help you smile. Everyone in Stillwater smiles. It's time for you to smile too." The doorknob is turning slowly. The cheap lock won't hold. There's a small window above the shower. If I can squeeze through. The door is splintering. They're pushing through. I see their faces crowding in, but something's wrong. The smiles are wider now, impossibly wide, splitting their cheeks open to reveal row upon row of teeth extending back into their throats. And behind those teeth, in the darkness of their mouths, I see more teeth still, and eyes, and things writhing and squirming in the blackness beyond. They're reaching for me with fingers that bend in too many places, with too many joints. Their skin is peeling back at the fingertips to reveal something glistening beneath. "We'll help you smile," they chorus in perfect unison. "We'll fix your face to match ours." If anyone finds this message, don't come looking for me in Stillwater. If you drive through and see a town where everyone smiles the exact same way, don't stop. Don't make eye contact. And whatever you do, don't smile back. Because now I understand the horrible truth. Their smiles aren't expressions at all. They're feeding mechanisms. And they're always, always hungry. My battery is at 1%. They've broken through the door. I feel their cold, damp hands on my shoulders, my neck, my face. I feel their fingers probing the corners of my mouth, stretching, pulling. Schlick-crack-pop. I'm smiling now. I'm finally happy in Stillwater. Won't you come visit us soon? Dear listener, thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Many more terrifying, mysterious, and thrilling stories are coming soon. See you again very soon.